Welcome back to Kamen Rider Review, episode number 85. This one discussing Kamen Rider Super 1, episodes number 21 and 23. 21 features the last monster of Dogma, where by appearance-wise, he's based on the cybernetics used for Super 1. But he's not exactly complete because he can't exactly counteract the five power hands. So, he's challenged by General Mongol. By the way, the episode started off with, while the thing was being built, where the Emperor, Terra Mongrave, is furious with him. It's presumed that's because of the movie. Yes. I highly doubt it was because of the last episode, per se, with telephone. Because in the context of the series, I think it's more a context of the movie than it was with the previous episode. Yeah, because that was small scale stuff compared to what happened with that one. So then of course the monster takes on Kamen Rider Super 1, where he takes in a series of challenges in order to free Hiko and her brother.
Okay. Welcome back to Black Clover Anime Review, episode 188. Chapter 356 of the manga. Welcome back to Neverland, as we're discussing Kamen Rider Review, episode 84.
Sorry about that. My other recording.
Yes, but I had last I heard because I was waiting. Yeah, I think it's quite stupid what's going with the movie where they say it's been delayed to July.
Okay, I'll open up even later. My apologies about that. Don't worry. So first challenge with strength, and with freedom, give him the power hands. Well, he gives it to him, takes them off like their gloves, and he doesn't free them. They're like, oh, we gotta use the thermite hands in order to free them when they're. I think it was electricity hands. I think it was.
Angle trying to position his body. Again tries to turn Bobby Roode, but Roode doesn't
seriously?
let go. Angle's got...
Okay, there we go. I pray to God no more interruptions. Okay, my apologies for that again. I hope the thing doesn't get pulled because you heard like 2 seconds of. Now before basically it was all me, like 4 different versions of me, and now it's basically just a tiny slivet of hearing some wrestling stuff. Well, I pray to God this does not get pulled because of that, like maybe not even 2 seconds of sound bites by a wrestling commentator. Okay, in the case of what happened here, so then like, oh, hanging out the brother, turns out it's not the brother, turns out it's actually just a dog fighter, and then he has to through the old fashioned trying to cut him in half with a freaking saw blade, and gives up the thermite hands. Yeah. And, well, he's left with just the radar hand and the default gloves. Of course, Mongo himself basically is a the fact later on we find that he can get all 5 gloves. But eventually, of course, Kamen is able to get them back, no problem. And the monster destroyed. And Mongo tells him, next time we see, next time you're battling me personally. And that's what happens. He takes him on the very next episode. General Mongol basically, Meguro basically, so he failed. He basically volunteers to take on Kamen Rider 1 himself. The Emperor actually agrees to his plan. So, meanwhile, though, we had this mysterious woman shows up in the episode, and it turns out that General Mongol Meguro was actually a human scientist, and apparently he was actually the person who preceded Oki as being a cyborg. Because it turns out when he went through it 5 years into the series, so I'm presuming, let's say 5 years, let's see, this is in 81. I'd say probably during a time skip, per se. I think so. Yes, I think during the time skip between Stronger and Sky Raider, there's probably another thing that happened where he, of course, they tried the surgery, but it failed. Then he disappeared, and then he becomes General Mongol. It's implied that the Emperor saved him from committing suicide because he made him ugly. And, well, then of course, then you have Kamen Rider fight him. He becomes Death Buffalo in the episode. And he's like, oh, you're the scientist. He's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Eventually, then we see a locket drop from his neck. And it's the same type of locket that the girl who actually is his fiance. And eventually they see each other again. He's like so happy. And turns out, yep, it's him. And then, of course, Mongo probably doesn't like this very much. So thanks to something he, well, it was implied this was there in the previous episode, because here is kind of the thing. They actually never say this at all in the previous episodes. He has this. Apparently he has an obedience chip in his brain. Yes. The general has got an obedience chip in his brain. And then, of course, Kamen Rider defeats him at the end of the episode. Well, apparently his monster form is Death Buffalo. Now, here's kind of the thing. This is not unusual for a monster of basically the general in his last appearance, where his true form is that he's a monster. This has been common since basically the original Kamen Rider series, so seeing this is not that surprising. Eventually, he actually kills his own fiancée during the battle because he's basically brainwashed. And eventually, he's destroyed. And then, like, the very next episode, then the end of the episode, he opens up the locket. It shows, oh, there's a map to Emperor Terragrave's castle. So he goes there by himself. Though he is helped by Master Genkai and Banki. So he's able to go there and, well, they got forces, of course. Now, I was curious of why these two didn't appear at this episode, and I found the reason why. Because during the course of this battle, where Banki is killed by arrows, the Master is killed by the Emperor. Rad finds his weakness because he becomes immortal, thanks to bathing in the blood of his god, and it turns out that he actually didn't bathe his shoulder, where the crow rested on. Yep, where the crow rested on. You thinking, really? Oh yeah, really. Okay. As for the reason for it, I'm not really sure exactly why. That's kind of how it is.
Welcome back to...
Yeah, here, let's see. I'm sorry about this. Here we go. Now, we do have some debut, well, and of course, all we have is this mysterious crow, who turns out is actually connected to the replacement organization, which I'll get to that. So, and he kills one of his guards for daring to see him in his true form. Me. And thanks to some fighting, of course, basically, not Jin, I was going to say that. Basically, the Emperor is defeated by the Kamen Rider. And that's a Dogma. Well, and then we had the episode debut of Jin Dogma. My guess is Jin's probably like new. And we see the debut of these characters. Martial Demon. Yeah, we see the debut of him and his subordinates. There is also Princess Yoki, Commander Onri, Dr. Ghost, Staff Officer Witch, and that's it. Excuse me. Yeah, they're basically other replacement organization. Yep, and it's like, oh. And by the way, he has no problem with the fact that Emperor Mako has been defeated. So yeah, we actually have the debut of Jin Dogma. This is basically a preview for them. This is similar in vein to what they did in Stronger, where they debuted the Ninja Army, where they just show up at the end of one of the episodes, where you have, I think it was General Shadow decided to have them show up at the end of the final episode of the Black Satan stuff. Here it's kind of the same thing too. Now, as for, let's say, where the general is actually supposedly somebody else and this one should be true, this is an element they borrowed from the previous series, Skyraider. Now, as for basically the main villain be defeated halfway, the main villain of an organization, leader of an organization, defeated halfway of the series and replaced somebody else. This has actually happened about 2 or 3 times over the course of the series. I think the first time this happened was this only happened actually at this point. I think it's officially happened only twice. Because first it happened in Stronger and then it happened again here. And now we have a replacement organization here. Actually, the third time because this also happened with Amazon. Amazon was the first time they actually had the whole thing of like 2 completely different organizations. You might think, what about Kamen? Well, what about the original one? Well, that one was mostly the original merge a different organization. When Shocker basically was just in ashes, they basically just merged with this other organization and they became Kyo Shocker for the remaining, I think it was 19 episodes. This one surprisingly has more episode appearances than the previous organization. This one's only here for about 25 episodes. Now, in the case of what happened with Stronger, per se, that one was different. Now, that one was around for about 17 episodes, I think it was. Yeah, about 16, 17 episodes. And in the case of Amazon, when it had their replacement organization, they were around for roughly 10 episodes. So I would say at this point, Jin Dogma is the first replacement organization that appears in a Kamen Rider series that actually would stay around the longest, 25 episodes. Yeah. I'm definitely looking forward to discussing Remaining 25, but now I'm on break. So, next up, basically, take a break for the series and watch both free. But before I get to that, I gotta watch Case Closed. But before that, I got a lot of videos to share. Okay? Next video. Bye.